Thank you so much for joining. Really excellent. It'll be so much easier to teach this class if there's real people there. So, couple of management issues to begin with. Generally keep your microphones turned off unless you have a question, because otherwise we get a lot of echo and funny feedback going on and whistling, and it's all very unpleasant. I'm happy for you to have your cameras on because then I get to see you, but if you're finding that things are freezing or slowing down, you might want to turn your camera off, because it just depends how much bandwidth we're using, whatever that means. I don't actually know what that means, but that's what I've been told. So who else? Who just came in? Josie and Blake. Lovely. And Samantha's coming. Wow, guys, this is super. Well done. Excellent. Well, a lot of you know me, because a lot of you were undergrads with me. Those of you who don't, I'm Dr. Wall. Hopefully you read my intro, and so my accent is not a surprise to you. Just to let you know that my graduate assistant, Brian Anderson, is at the back of the room, also filming this as a backup. So far this week, the new Collaborate Ultra has proven to be much, much better than the Collaborate we've had in the past. And I've looked at a couple of the recordings, and the audio and the visual are pretty clear. So we're taking the other backup. Samantha can't hear. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to keep going because I have, my microphone is showing that it's working. I have the speakers on, so I should be able to hear you if you have questions. I'm not sure where to, oh, I know. Samantha, if you go down into, go to the cog bottom right and try to reset your cameraman audio. Okay. All right, so what I'd like to do is have a very quick look at the Blackboard page so that everybody can see where things are going to be located for you, and then a really quick look at the syllabus, because you're more than capable of looking at that for yourselves as graduate students, and then we'll get going on just a little bit of information. Okay, so I'm going to turn the camera off for a second and move it around so you don't get seasick. Hold on. Why do I have to do that every time? Good. And then I'm going to share my screen. Look at. Oh no, what was that? did that wrong. Let's try again. There we go, that's the one I want. Okay. All right. So textbooks are up. I know a couple of you have only just joined the program, like literally today or yesterday, so it's going to take you a few days to get your textbooks. Just keep up as best you can until then. Please make a note that the plan is to stick with our live personal presentations to the class for the end of the semester. And we'll do that through Collaborate, okay? So when you look at the syllabus, the last 2 weeks of class, if you can manage to organize your timetables and schedules to be available at 4:30 on those days, that would be great, because then you can come in live, give your presentation to people, ask questions on other people's presentations, and we can really have a fun, engaging finish to the semester. Startup guidelines, just a few tips to help you out, especially if you're new to doing things online, like me, or new to Blackboard or anything. There's just a few tips there. And then the syllabus and the participation agreement. Please make sure that you read the syllabus. We're going to flip through it quickly today, but read it thoroughly before you fill in that participation agreement. Remember that this does act really like a contract, right? When you submit that agreement, you're saying, oh, I understand what the requirements for this class are going to be, right? So I don't want you to fill that in until you are totally sure. And then when you read the syllabus, if you've got any questions at all, check in with me first before you do that agreement, okay? Then I wanted to show you over on the left here. So your announcement should be popping up on your login page. If you don't have it set for that, then make sure that you check this announcements link every now and then to see. But it really is the most useful if you have those announcements popping up on your front page before you log in. Gives you a reminder that there's something going on. There's an email messages link here. As much as possible, I want you to contact me through this email messages link. You can also contact each other if you have questions to each other about things. Okay, you can email anyone in the class through this link. And I want you to use that because my Outlook email is ridiculous. I get reams and reams. I mean, today I lost count of how many emails. And most of them end up getting deleted. But that means that I might miss if you've tried to reach me. If you email me here, I can't miss it because it gives me a message that there's an email waiting for me, okay? The next link down is my office hours, and I want to show you that. If you want to talk to me during my office hours, all you have to do is click on that link there, and then there's a link for either Monday, Wednesday office hours or Thursday office hours. Just click on that link and it'll take you into a Collaborate room and I'll be sitting, waiting to chat to you, okay? If my office hours don't work because you've got a job or you have family things going on and those times just don't work for you, that's fine. Send me an email, we can make an appointment to Skype, okay? And I like to use Skype, it's free. And it's pretty reliable, and it doesn't take too much setup to get it going. Once I've got your username, that's all I need, and then I can just call you, Okay, so yeah, you're going to be able to get hold of me anytime you need to. It won't be a problem. Okay. Next one down is discussion board Q&A. So hopefully most of you have jumped in there and put a little introduction. Since we're not on campus, I thought that would be a nice way to get to know each other a little bit and have an idea of each other's backgrounds. And then class notes and assignments are here. Okay, so let me just show you this, and then it'll link to what I'll show you in the syllabus. When you go to the class notes and you click on the week 1 folder, that gives you, I did that already, I can delete that. That gives you the PowerPoint for this week, it gives you the readings for this week, and it gives you a document that tells you what the readings are for next week. So you can go to the week 2 folder and find those readings. All right, and actually in week 2, I've got a couple of extra readings, but they're not linked to the lecture, they're just really interesting articles. Well, they're kind of linked to the lecture, but they're just really interesting. Yeah, and under the assignments, so there's a folder for APA Online Help, and I've put the link to apa.org, apastyle.org, and Purdue OWL. Those are the 2 kind of mega resources for APA Online. I've put some information there about the Writing Center. They are functioning. They are offering online help to students. So, you know, if you know your spelling isn't great, if you know your grammar isn't great, then you can always get some help with your papers at the Writing Center. And then the first thing you want to pay attention to, because the others come later in the semester, so they're not open yet, I've got a bit of finagling to do on those. This article summary folder has the rules, which I'll go over, and the template, and the practice isn't open yet, I'll open it after class. And then there will be model answers, so once the due date is over, I'll put up an answer that you can compare to. So, any questions on that little bit on the blackboard before I move on to the syllabus? No? Okay. I'm not very techy, as those of you who know me know very well, so I try to keep things as simple as possible. Why is it not showing the syllabus? Let's try that again. So what does balance mean? Open, I should be able to share that screen. Isn't that right?
If you're sharing, whatever you're on, you pop up.
Sorry?
Whatever you're on.
Yeah, it's not letting me. I'm not getting that drop down to share the application. Maybe I just pressed it too many times, that's typical, I'm not exactly patient. press the record, I think. Oh no, I forgot recording. Good job we've got you. Week 1 and I'm forgetting already. Good grief. Right. Why is it not? Okay, so I just linked the Blackboard screen, and now it's not letting me. What happens if I turn that off? That isn't right. And then try again. Good. But it isn't. There's usually a little drop-down box that tells me, gives me the options. Okay, guys, I'm going to come out of the room and come right back. I'll be back in a second. Let's see if that reboots it. Something wrong with the internet here today. I had a couple of emails from students this morning saying we were trying to get into the room. Okay, I'm back. Let's see if that worked. Let's share video. And then in here, then see my document isn't there. It should be in that list. This morning it was in the list. I need to shut these down and reopen. Sorry, gang. Sharing. So if I pull that up, okay, that's weird. All right, turn your microphones on quickly and tell me that you can see the syllabus, please.
I cannot.
Okay.
Cannot see it either.
Okay.
Yeah.
I cannot see the syllabus as well.
Okay, thanks. So I failed miserably is what you mean. I have no idea. All right, let's try this. It worked this morning, honest. They probably ran an update between this morning and now, and something broke. I don't think this will work either, but let's give it a try. It broke. this isn't helpful, is it? On the record,
Where the drop down.
there.
Right.
Oh, sorry, there.
So, yeah, that's that.
I need to reload the already reloaded the page. Do it again. All right, I'll be back. Sorry. Jeez. Of course, it has to happen to the graduate class, right? Every class this week has worked fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to come out of Blackboard as well and just start here. It had to be this class. It had to be this one. Oh my God. How embarrassing is this? You can pay.
So, I'm gonna Word docs, too.
Close them.
So, just have them full screen, because they're like, weird, narrow. Yeah, just. You try Chrome?
Could. I think it might be Firefox.
It's back.
It's just added 20 minutes in class. There's going to be 5 recordings for them to watch today.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Hello. I'm back again. All right. Let's try again. If you could all, Michael, could you turn your camera off for me? Let's turn all the cameras and microphones off. And I've come in through Chrome this time, so hopefully it was a Firefox glitch. Yes. Okay, now can you see the syllabus?
Yes.
Hurrah!
Yes, yes, yes.
Blimey, what a flippin' palaver. Okay, let's move through this quickly then. All right, we already mentioned if the office hours don't work for you, no problem, give me an email. I can meet you another time, no trouble at all. You can read all this for yourself. There's a reminder here that the final presentations the last 2 weeks, if you can possibly organize your schedule to be available live for those last 2 weeks, you've got lots of time to plan that. That would be lovely, because the more people we have in live giving their presentations and asking questions and things, the more fun it will be. So I'm I'm pretty lenient, I think I'm pretty lenient with extensions for assignments if you ask me ahead of time, okay? So plan out a few weeks at least and look at when are your deadlines in all your classes. If you have 2 deadlines on the same day and they're both big pieces of work, drop me an email and say, please can I have a day or an extra day or an extra 2 days to do this. All right, you don't want to be cramming 2 large pieces of work into the same time frame. You want to be able to do the best job you can with your assignments. So, you know, just let me know. I don't know what your other faculty are going to be like about, you know, giving extensions. I'm really fine. I'm not fine if you contact me the day of or the day after or the week after and go, oh, I forgot that one, right? Normally I will let you hand things in late and it'll get graded for 50%. Depends how busy I am, okay? So take responsibility, look at what your schedule is like. If you need my help, just ask for it. You know, if you've got a doctor's appointment or there's something going on or you get sick or a family member gets sick and you need extra time, I am okay with that as long as you ask for it, okay? The evaluation, so we're going to do 4 article summaries at the beginning of the semester, and I'm going to talk you through those in class today. Then you are going to spend some time, and I want you to start thinking about this early, all right? You have to come up with a purpose statement of a study you would like to run. Now, you're not going to run the study, all right, unless you go thesis route. But we're going to pretend, for now, that you're going to run a study, okay? So I want you to start looking around the literature and thinking about, what am I interested in? What do I want to read about, right? What do I want to have to learn about this semester? And pick something that really gets you excited, right? Because literature reviews and research are really fun when it's something you really want to do and you want to have the answer to, okay? But if you pick just some boring old thing, you've got to deal with that for the whole semester. That's going to be like, blah, okay? So start to think about that. Building on your purpose statement, you're going to do an annotated bibliography. So an annotated bibliography is a set of paragraphs with a reference that summarize articles you've read, right? Which is why we're starting with the article summary. Let's learn how to do a good article summary first, and then you can start summarizing the research that you're finding that links to your purpose statement, okay? And you're going to have 2 attempts at that, all right? And then the last thing is the presentation. So you're going to take your purpose statement and the research that you've read, bung it into a short PowerPoint, and tell everybody about it. And we'll have fun, right? So you just get to share the work that you've been reading for the semester, all right? So nothing horrendous, no big exams, nothing like that, all right? So this is geared to help you be better writers, better readers of research, so that in your other classes, because every class you take in this program is going to require you to find research to support the arguments you're making in the papers that you're writing, all right? So this is geared to helping you learn how to do that, okay? What else do we have here that we need to actually talk about? We already talked about email. Oh, if anyone has any accommodations, I mean, we don't have anything timed, we don't have any exams like that, but if you do have accommodations that I need to be aware of, please do go and get those recorded, and then I'll get the email from student services for students with disabilities telling me what it is you need from me. Okay? Difficult to cheat when we're all in separate parts of the state, country, world, so we don't need to worry about that. And just a note at the bottom here, this semester is going to be a bit crazy for me. I'm not trying to make excuses, but I don't teach online. So this is a whole new ball game for me. And I have 6 classes that I'm trying to manage online for the first time. So I will do the best I can. I think once I've got going, it'll be a little more organised. It feels a bit frantic to me right now. I'm sure it does for you too, this kind of weirdness that we're in at the moment. So I'm sure it will take all of us a few days to kind of settle into the right pattern. But please remember that I'm here to help. I'm a resource, right? So if you do a draft of a piece of work and you think, oh, I don't know, is this good? Am I missing something? Am I even doing what she wanted? Send it to me, clearly labeled as a draft, and I will do my best to give you some feedback and get it back to you in time for you to use that feedback to send in to meet the deadline. Okay? I think that's important. If we were all on campus, I'd be sitting in my office all day, and you could just walk in whenever you wanted and shove something in front of me and go, is this anything like right? Okay? So I want to make sure that as best as I can, we recreate that opportunity for you. Okay? All right. PowerPoint open again. Arg. Stop sharing. Sorry, I'm talking out loud because I'm still learning the process. Reshare. Pick the PowerPoint. Ta-da! Okay, you can all see the PowerPoint, right? Hopefully, you can see the PowerPoint. Okay. Alrighty, so you looked at the syllabus, make sure that you read through it thoroughly, understand what's going on, look at the schedule. I have the dates, the lecture that's going to occur on that day, the assignments, and the assignment due dates. So I think it's relatively clear, but again, if you have any questions, check in with me. If during the semester you're not sure if something is due or not, okay, let me know. Okay, but I think it's pretty clear. As I said, I'm not the world's smartest button, so I try to keep things as simple as possible. Remember to contact me through Blackboard if you can. And if you can't come live in person, I hope that many of you keep coming live in person, because I think that that's going to make it a much better experience. But if for any reason you can't make it, I'm recording this. Am I recording this when we reopened it? I might not be recording this, but luckily Ryan is recording this and it will be up on YouTube. That's a good point. I bet I forgot when I got back in. God, I'm hopeless. Oh no, yes, no, yes. No, I'm recording. Oh, okay, that's not so bad then. You can tell I'm not very comfortable with this, can't you? So, there'll be a recording within the Collaborate room, And I'll send the instructions how to find that because it's kind of tucked away in there. And we'll also have a recording on YouTube from Ryan, just in case I do like I have tonight and goof up on the technology. So, why are we here, right? What is it that we're trying to learn? So, any graduate program worth its salt is going to involve certainly you reading research and having to access research and include research in your work. Many of them will actually include a research project of some kind that is part of your grade for a class. So we want to really try to debunk the myth that research is scary. Right? Research isn't scary. Research is piles of fun, right? Because all research is doing is answering a question you have, right? Oh, I wonder what would happen if I did this. Well, so run the study and find out, right? That's all. There's nothing scary about it. It's heaps of fun. And I'm really hoping that you guys get the bug, because you'll find when you get into the library databases and you start looking for research articles, and then you'll see something, you go, oh, that wasn't what I was looking for, but that looks really good, and you'll go off on tangents all over the place and find all this amazing information that is out there, okay? So we do it and read it because we want to expand our understanding, okay? Learning is the most amazing lifelong tool. If you can learn to love learning, it sticks with you forever. And a personal story, my dad is 84 and a half, and he goes to, because the gym is shut, he's turned his garage into his gym. So he's got a stationary bike, and he's got a whole pile of weights and a bench press and all kinds of gadgets, because he's lifted his whole life. And he's also signed up for 3 courses, online courses at Yale. And so he cracks me up. He gets up in the morning, drinks a couple of cups of tea, sits down at 9:30, watches the first class for the day, stops at about 11, has another cup of tea, sits back down, watches the next class for the day, stops and has some lunch and a couple of cups of coffee, and then goes back and watches a 3rd class. And then, after the 3rd class, goes out to the garage and does an hour and a half's training. Like, I want that life. I want that life. He cracks me up. He's hysterical. But he loves it. And it's so much fun to watch him learning, right? I mean, of course, there's a lot of arguments because he does economics and politics and blah. And then he wants to talk to me about it, and I don't care about economics or politics, so that doesn't go down so well. But, you know, I mean, this is something we can do forever. And if you ever look at the brain research, the more active you keep your brain, the more you learn, the more you challenge your memory, the more likely you are to stay cognizant, right? And engaged in life. So all good stuff, really. When you're looking at the research, you're going to find that very generally it divides into 2 piles. You'll have a pile of what we call basic research. Basic research is the boring stuff. It's done in labs. It may or may not be done on humans. It's often done on animals. And it's under very, very controlled circumstances that don't really relate to real life, okay? But the joy of basic research is that it provides questions for those of us who want to go out and do real-world research on real people under real circumstances, right? And the real-world research is the applied research. So the other bundle is going to be papers where the researcher went to a school and ran some research on the students at the school, or did some research with their athletes during training sessions, or something like that, okay? So it's a pretty clear divide, but it's a very general divide, because it depends, you know, it's very clear in our area of study, I think, in exercise science. It's probably less clear if you're in maybe psychology or something like that, okay? You're also going to be reading the terms quantitative and qualitative, and we'll talk about those in more detail in a couple of weeks. But just to define those now for you, quantitative research collects numerical data of some description, all right? So if when you look at the data set and the results, there are lots of numbers everywhere, that's quantitative data, okay? A qualitative paper has a lot of verbiage, lots and lots and lots and lots of verbiage, right? Lots of words. They are much more interested in interviewing people and collecting their thoughts than they are about giving them a test and measuring how fast they are, right? So you might be able to tell I'm not a qualitative researcher, I'm a quantitative researcher. So I'm going to have some help with the qualitative information during the semester. Okay, big important point, all right, and I've given you some reading in the APA manual. You can also find information in the graduate catalogue about plagiarism. Plagiarism is a big no-no. If you are caught deliberately plagiarizing, that's an F at best. Depending on the level of plagiarism, you could actually get dismissed from school. Okay, so I don't say that to scare the pants off of everybody, but I'm just trying to make you very aware of the seriousness of plagiarizing. Okay, now the problem, having said that, is what's plagiarizing, right? When am I plagiarizing? I mean, there are very obvious times, like my friend writes a paper and I take that paper and I copy it out and I put my name on it and I hand it in, right? That's the obvious. And if you've come back to grad school, I'm going to make the assumption that that isn't the version of plagiarizing I have to look out for, right? More difficult is trying to understand how to take the ideas that you're reading in a research paper and build them into your own work without plagiarizing, okay? So you can do the easy version, and the easy version is using quotes, right? As long as I've got quotes around it and I've given the name of the person and the reference, then I'm okay. Yeah, but that's a pretty lazy approach to writing, all right? So what we want to work on is the idea of, can I read this piece of information, absorb it, understand it, put it away, and then build the ideas that I learn into what I'm writing, Now that doesn't mean you still don't have to give a citation that says this is where I got this information, right? But it means that you don't copy and paste into your paper, okay? And we'll talk about citing next week, week after, in a couple of weeks, all right? We're going to concentrate on referencing for now. So this idea of trying to use someone's work without copying their work is a very tricky skill, right? It's really difficult to do. It takes practice. It's like me trying to catch a ball that Ryan has hit. Ha! Good luck with that, right? Okay, you have to practice over and over and over and over again to catch the ball, right? It's exactly the same with this. You have to practice writing, you have to practice reading, you have to practice transferring that material across into your own writing. All right? It's not going to happen overnight. No one expects it to happen overnight. All right? So one of the things I want to say is if at any time you're writing something and you're like, am I plagiarizing? I'm not actually certain whether I'm plagiarizing. Ask me. Right? Come to office hours and go, what do you think? Or send me an email. Right? Because that's what I'm here for, is to help you learn the skill. Okay? All right, questions up to this point? Any questions up to this point? If you've got a question, turn your microphone on, ask away.
Dr. Wall, if you could hear us, we have no audio for the last couple slides.
I can hear you. So why is my microphone turned off? And again, it won't turn. See all this recycling thing that's going on up here? That's only been today. We didn't have that earlier in the week. We may have connectivity issues. No shit, really. So when it did this, it must have turned my microphone off because it had the line through it.
I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. Aye. Well, I guess it's a good job I'm running the backup. And I don't trust technology. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, well, I was up on my soapbox talking about plagiarism. You can go back and have a listen on the YouTube, do the reading. If you've got questions, I'll be happy to answer them, okay? Let's have Anybody got kind of basic questions about plagiarizing or basic versus applied research before I move on to the dreaded APA manual? So what I think happened, we're having some connection issues today. I don't know why. We haven't had any trouble all week. And my screen starts cycling and telling me it's reconnecting me. And when it did that, it turned my microphone off. So I can't see your comments because I've got the PowerPoint up here. So if you can't hear me again, someone yell quick and I can try and correct it a little sooner, okay? All right, APA. So, the manual you're going to use for the next 2 years of your life, if not longer, if you go to further. What? Can you hear me? This is getting tedious. No, I'm turned off again. I was always a moderator. Now can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Yes.
I don't know how to do this. Can you stay here? Okay. But I need to have the PowerPoint up. Okay, what about if I put the PowerPoint up and I make it like that? And then you can still, it's not shit. See, I've gone off again. Okay, this is very frustrating. I'm so sorry. I think you can hear me right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. APA manual. Can you bring that little PowerPoint up for me? There we go. Okay, APA manual. So you're going to work with the 7th edition. All right. You are going to need this manual for your whole graduate career and on if you go on to further grad school. All right. So look after it. Sleep with it under your pillow so that you absorb some of it by osmosis. So what you need to know about APA, let me think, my mind's all scattered now. There are rules about formatting that you have no idea exist. I mean, absolutely ludicrous rules, all right? How many spaces after a comma? How many spaces after a period? If I'm writing minutes, am I allowed to write mins or do I have to write minutes? Right? Is it the same for years or weeks? Right? Everything's different. How do I format statistical data? How do I set up my page? Right? So for example, you have to have 1-inch margins, you have to double space, you have to use certain types of fonts, although I must say in the new edition they are much more flexible about the choices of fonts you can use than they were in any previous edition that I've worked with. All right? So there are all these rules. You're never going to learn them all. Only really weird people learn the APA manual. Okay? We don't need to spend time learning the APA manual because we have an APA manual. We just have to know to check it for any rule. Right? Just assume there's a rule. Like, do you indent on the beginning of a paragraph or not indent on the beginning of a paragraph? I'm not actually sure on the new edition because I haven't come across that yet. All right? So one thing I would say to you is, if you're going to be traveling, at any time over the next, well, not this semester, but over the course of your career, make sure that you take, and you're going to have to do some work while you're gone, take the APA manual with you, all right? Because you can't learn it. You can't learn it. You'll get really good at doing references and citations without checking the book because you have to do so many of them. But don't waste time trying to learn it. Just use it, thumb it all the time. The thing I really love about the new edition is they put the little tabs on the pages so you can find things way, way easier. Love it. Okay? So details, details, details are really important. And some faculty will tell you, I'm not going to waste too much time with your APA, I'm not interested in the content. Okay? That's okay. Right? We are master's level students, we're not PhD students. But what if you want to become a PhD student? What if you think that might be something you want to do? Then the APA is really, really, really important in a doctoral program. Right? You can't get away from it. So we're going to use it. We're going to look up and learn some of the rules. We're going to not bother learning other rules, and we're just going to know how to find them in the book, right? And we're just going to manage APA, all right? And as I said, I put up a couple of links to help. The new book has a heap more information on how to use electronic resources. So it's going to be a good resource. The 6th edition was kind of stuck. Their electronic resources were coming into use when that 6th edition came out, but there wasn't a lot of it going on, and so they didn't have much in there. And then people were like, well, how do I reference this? How do I reference this? And as the use of the internet and research on the internet got bigger, they finally came out with a new manual at the end of last year. Okay, oops, see, I missed a space there. APA referencing, so lots of rules. Chapter 9 covers all the rules. Chapter 10 gives you piles of examples of how to use the rules to reference a resource that you're using. Okay? So usually I do some examples on the board here, but you won't be able to see them except on the YouTube video. And I guess I could try the whiteboard. Do you think we've got enough connectivity to try the whiteboard?
Like, weird.
Is it weird? Is it messing around? Yeah, because it's doing it again. Can you guys hear me right now?
Yes.
Okay. whiteboard, so let's give it a try and see what happens. Uh-oh. It disappeared. I guess that ain't gonna work.
Yeah, the internet's just trash.
What is
They just
going
can't-
on?
they just
Yeah.
can't internet, that's why.
So I wonder if it's the internet to Greyhound Arena or whether it's the Blackboard people.
Because the internet's.
Is it?
Well, I know that internet at the arena's been going in and out all day, so it might be that.
Okay.
With the video, if you want to watch it after, there'll be one on the ENMU HPE YouTube page.
I'll put-
That'll probably be easier.
Yeah, I'll put the link in. All right. So I'm not going to write an example, but I will talk you through a couple of ideas. So, if you are working in a field that uses the APA manual, the rules are different for APA than for other manuals. So like biology, people don't use APA, they use something MLS or something else, and the rules are different. That means that when we're reading the research, not all the papers that you read are going to be APA formatted, because it depends which field the paper comes from, okay? And when we're in our area, we overlap with lots of the other sciences, and they don't all use APA, okay? So for APA, when you're doing a reference and you're doing a reference list, number one, don't ever reorder the authors on the paper. So in our field, the order of the authors represents the amount of work they contributed to the research in the paper. That isn't the case, say, in maths, right? In a maths paper, they just order them alphabetically, and it's got nothing to do with who did how much work or anything, okay? So never ever reorder the list of authors, okay? First thing to remember, because as I said, that's important, because if I'm first author, that's a big deal. That means that this research is really my piece of work, right? You're going to put the authors first, and you put their last name with a comma, and then a space, and then their first initial. If there's a second initial, you put a period after the initial, a space, second initial, period, comma, and you keep going with the authors, all right? And it's important when you're looking at these chapters to pay attention to detail. If you miss a space, that's an error, right? So it's important that you pay attention to where the spaces are within the reference, okay? It's important that you look at what is italicized and what is not italicized, because that depends on what it is you're referencing. If you're referencing, for example, a research paper from a journal, the authors and the title of the paper are not italicized, but the name of the journal and the volume number for the journal are italicized, okay? If you're referencing a book, what is italicized and what isn't italicized is different, okay? So you can't just learn the way to do it for a journal and then use that version for everything else that you do, because that's not necessarily going to be correct, right? as I said, don't try to learn the rules. Learn where to find the rule. However, you know, add sticky tape to the page or whatever you want to do, and use the manual a lot. Okay? Okay, a little bit about this idea of the problem statement. Particularly if it's quantitative research, there's going to be a purpose statement or a problem stated. All right. Sometimes, if we're really lucky, the paper actually says the purpose of this research is blah. All right. Sometimes they use other verbiage that means the same thing, like the aim of the study was, or something like that. Right. If it's a qualitative paper, they don't tend to narrow down a purpose in the same way. They might have a research question, and then they'll go off at tangents from that question. If it's quantitative, it's very, very fixed. Once you've stated the purpose, that dictates everything else that comes. Okay? So, as I said, moving forward, you want to start thinking about, what am I interested in? Like, what's fun? Is it health? Is it wellness? Is it sport? Is it a particular type of sport? All right, you're all sport admin people. Is it something to do with law in sport? Is it something to do with management and leadership skills in sport? Okay, just start thinking about it and try to get an idea of what it is that really gets you excited. All right. When we start to create these purpose statements, there's a couple of things you want to be thinking about. The first is it has to be feasible. So that means it's got to be reasonable and doable given the resources that we have at Eastern New Mexico. All right? Doesn't mean it has to be cheap, because you can apply for graduate student research monies if you wanted to run a thesis and you needed equipment. But think about, you know, what would be, like, biomechanics is a great topic for study, but we don't have a biomechanics lab here. So unless you can access one somewhere else, doing a biomechanics study that involves a force platform might be a great idea, but it ain't doable here. Right? Because we just don't have that. Now, they have one at Tech, right? So if you're willing to drive to Tech to get your data collection, you're okay, right? Does that make sense? It wants to be original, and this is usually the sticking point. When we say original, it doesn't necessarily have to be a